Hello everyone and welcome back to Code Realize Future Blessing. We're going to be continuing down Van Helsing's Happily Ever After. Van Helsing has just gotten the good news that Cardia was poison free, or working towards that anyway. And so he rushed home to confirm it with his own mouth, and that's where we are now. They had a little get together with MP and Lupin. Saint Germain is in France, and so things are all hunky-dory on the Van Helsing residence. The next morning.
週末なんだが、町へ行かないか?
Oh, I thought it said, would you like to take a fancy trip? I was like, oh, a fancy trip? Okay. Van Helsing asked me nonchalantly as he folded up the morning's broadsheet. I was nearly finished cleaning breakfast away. The city, London proper?
Ah.
I couldn't say why, but the request raises my hackles. Why do they choose that word? I don't understand. But why? Why are you on? Oh, I guess. The Azoth incident is long since behind us, and we are in a relative state of peace. But be that as it may, people like Van Helsing do remain employed as bodyguards. I can only mean undesirable elements are still suspected of lurking within the city. Alright. Just in case I'm needed, I'll brush up on my hand-to-hand combat skills. I remember the forums, and I'm fairly certain I won't be a burden. Oh, forms, not forums. Despite my very matter-of-fact response, Van Helsing widens his eyes a bit and chuckles, seeming almost chagrined. What, did I say something odd?
いや、いいんだ。私の言葉が足りなかった。実は、週末に休みが取れてな。たまには町へ遊びに行ってみないかという話だ。
He wants to go on a date. You mean it's not on a mission? For fun? Did Van Helsing just say fun?
無毒化から1週間ばかり経つが、満足に外出もできていないだろう。お前さえよければ、そう思ったんだが、どうする?
Yes, I'd love to. The jubilant response poured out of me as soon as I understood what he meant. Although it's still a bit uncertain to say the least, I am gradually becoming used to touching things in the mansion. The feeling of fresh flower petals, what it might be like to stroke lazy cats sunning themselves in the back alleys. Why would you go to the back alleys? Like, that just seems like a bad idea. There's no end to the things I'd love to touch in the city and beyond. And yet, something occurs to me all at once, and I fix my gaze on Van Helsing. I want to go, but... May I ask something first? When was your last break before this next one? I don't mean time spent strolling around, I mean resting up properly here at home.
休み? 一月は前だと思うが、それがどうかしたか?
She's telling you you need to relax. Then I think you should rest too, Van Helsing. You must be exhausted. You could have been working yourself to the bone lately, and although you may not feel it yet, your body is paying the price. There's no reason to risk going out. Ever inscrutable, Van Helsing narrows his eyes at my confession of concern.
なるほど。ではなおさら、お前を連れて出かけるべきだな。
Why? What?
私にとって何よりの回復薬は、
お
前が笑っていること。それに勝るものはない。
That's cute.
お前が喜んでくれるなら、疲れなど少しも気にならないさ。
He says this with such genuine concern or caring. Despite my best intentions, I find my desire that he finally afford himself a bit of proper rest wavering. But I instinctively wring my hands. Are you entirely certain going out together into the city?
そんなに怖い顔をするな。さっきからそう言ってるだろ。私はお前と出かけたいんだ。誰よりも愛するお前とな。
Blush. That's unfair to say the least.
決まりだな。気は早いが、当日は何がしたい？時間の許す限り、どこへでも連れて行こう。
Anywhere. Such a captivating word. The fact is, I can touch anything now. This is so very exciting, but I can't think of anything on the spot. Simply spending time together with you is my very favorite thing after all.
そうか。だがそうなると私が行き先を決めることになるが、それでも構わないか？
Of course, I'd prefer it that way. I'm really looking forward to going anywhere. Ah, the sooner I had the words left my mouth, I did think of something. Always perceptive, and Helsing seemed to notice. In his customary way, he gestured as if to say, "Out with it." If you don't want to, it's quite alright. But if you don't terribly mind, I'd like to hold your hand. Aw. I want to walk down the high streets hand in hand with you, Van Helsing. I can't believe I just said that out loud. My cheeks grow hot, and their prickly heat only makes me flush deeper. Half expectant, half panicked, I await his reply.
おいで、カルディア。
That's so cute. I want to hold your hand. And Helsing beckons me to come sit on his knee in a kind enough tone, yet one that also brokers no argument. He embraces me, then surrounding me completely. Come sit on my lap. This close to one another, I experience a queer sensation, thoroughly abashed, yet bursting with joy at his attentions. They use some strange words, man. Abashed, like I know what that means, but like who uses that word? Van Helsing? That's kind of into him all of a sudden. Not that I have any intention of resisting, or even could, to be honest. Then why say anything if you don't want to resist? As I regard him in wonder, stunned by his unexpected show of affection, Van Helsing quietly begins to speak.
どうしても今こうしたかった。手をつなぎたいと言ったお前が愛しくて、勝手ですまない。
He can't get enough of touching you now that you're detoxified. Not at all. I could get used to this. Van Helsing really has changed. His brusque, standoffish attitude is gradually ebbing, and he wears a smile more often than I thought possible. I almost feel like I'm speaking in Shakespeare's terms, ebbing. Like, come on. Is this sea change in his attitude truly because of us? I hope so, but...
どうした？
Oh? Nothing. I was just thinking about how kind you truly are and how often you seem to smile now. I intended nothing of great portent, but Van Helsing's expression briefly flickers to one of confusion. Oh my goodness, all these words. They've extended their vocabulary in this game.
それはお前にとっていいことだろう？それとも何か至らない部分が？
No, do not refrain. We're okay with this. Oh goodness, no. I simply never imagined us living this life. I'm not used to the changes yet. I hope you stay just as you are.
そうか。
Aw. It was only then Van Helsing seemed to realize I remained cradled in his lap. Oh. He set me down gently and stood up. Well, that's disappointing. Should have gave us a CG.
では早速だが、週末の下調べも兼ねて、私は少し外に出てくる。帰りに何か買ってくるものは？
Nothing comes to mind. Oh, if there's anything special you'd like to eat tonight, you could bring that back. I'll do my best to cook.
わかった。どれだけかかっても1時間程度だろう。行ってくる。
Alright, be safe. Just as the words escape my lips, I feel his hand on my cheek. Warm, loving happiness in physical form. And so I can't help but wonder, why did I detect a hint of melancholy in Van Helsing's eyes as he took his leave? I don't know. Why are you sad, Van Helsing? That weekend. Truthfully, I could not recall the last holiday Van Helsing and I shared. Strolling along the picturesque lanes, London seemed somehow different today. I had always been so terribly conscious of my affliction with the hustle and bustle of passerbys, animals, but today such concerns are no more. I could touch, feel, interact with so many things. Here, kitty, kitty. I beckoned to a stray cat we happened upon. Had it been Cece, I might have been bowled over as he came lopping towards us, intent on nuzzling my legs, but... Oh, he ran away. My luck with cats leaves much to be desired. I spoke under my breath and didn't expect to hear Van Helsing chuckle. I tried to coax several more cats towards me with Van Helsing waiting patiently by my side. I suppose I'm just not a cat person.
猫を掃除で気まぐれだ。機嫌が悪いんじゃないか。
He laughed then when pointing out the difference between Cece and these strays. The first cat I approached settled at a safe distance, grooming itself without a seeming care in the world.
しかし、今日はよく猫に出会うな。もうこれで5匹目だったか。
It was, with all their own personalities, almost like our friends.
どういう意味だ?
Don't you remember the one at the park with brown fur and amber eyes? He looked like Lupin. And the white one carried himself just like Saint Germain. Then the fluffy one, like a bundle of fairy floss, so Victor. Then he had the hard-headed cat who tried so hard to catch that bird but failed, empty through and through.
変わった例えだ。だが、言われてみれば、そう思えるのも不思議だな。
And last but not least, the one that ran away just now, that's you.
私か? 似ているところなどどこにも。まさか、不愛想な点とは言わないだろうな。
Of course not. It's your eyes. Both of you have such beautiful, deep blue eyes.
目? そうだったか。そう珍しい色ではないが、まさか猫と同じとは。
Unconsciously, Van Helsing traces the outlines of his spectacles with one hand. Soaring building walls, gas lamps lining the thoroughfares. Leaves on perfectly manicured trees, intricate wrought iron railings. Everything that catches my eye, I can't help but reach out to touch and feel it. Masonry warm to the touch in the cherry sunlight. The rough, pitted surfaces, the sheer solidity of the stones. All the tactical sensations my gloves once dampened flow through me in a rush of giddiness and excitement. Lost in my reverie, I reach out towards a plume of steam sprouting forth from a vigorously churning steam engine.
それは見過ごせないな。怪我をするかもしれない。
I know, I'm like, that will hurt. Van Helsing stopped me immediately. You needn't consider me so fragile, Van Helsing. Think of all the bruises you gave me when we trained for combat.
とにかく、これはやめておけ。もともと人が触れることを想定したものではない。
Giving him a look that said, if you insist, we continue on holding hands. I know, like, steam hurts if you touch it. As I goggle at all the newfound sensation, Van Helsing simply smiles and watches over me. After a short while, he closes his eyes and whispers in my ear. What are you whispering?
今、楽しいか、カルディア。
I am. It's wonderful. I couldn't be happier.
そうか。それならよかった。今までのことを考えれば、お前は人の何倍も幸せになるべきだ。極論だが、どんなわがままを言ってもいいんだぞ。
Oh, Van Helsing, you don't need to spoil me. I am so very happy as it is.
さて、ここからは私が案内するとしよう。
I think I know where he's going to take her. We gradually move away from the quieter residential areas towards the high streets closer to the city center. The crowds become denser and the roads dotted with carriages, even automobiles.
さあさあ寄ってらっしゃい。外国の珍しい品物が入荷したよ。
You're so loud.
ママ、あっちのも見てみたい。
はいはい、そんなに引っ張らないでちょうだいよ。
This wonderful cacophony of mingling voices, barkers hawking their wares, even street buskers, playing instruments. All these little things I paid scant heed to before. Oh my goodness. Paid scant heed. All these little things I paid scant heed before now seem so fascinating. Say Van Helsing, what's the person doing? He's wearing a sign.
あれはボードマンだ。店や演劇の看板を見せて歩いて客引きをしている。
And what about the fellow with is that a giant brush on a stick?
煙突の清掃業だな。この時間なら仕事帰りだろう。
And that person over there? For some time, I peppered Van Helsing with questions about all the things I had never taken particular notice of before. I was overwhelmed when Lieutenant MP first brought me here. Steel London, unthinkably massive, crackling with life. Things moved so quickly I had no time to take in the finer details nor any urge to do so. With those bewildering early weeks, each day a new challenge, it was all I could do to stay sane. And yet it almost feels like yesterday. It's been some time now, but I still feel so naive. I have so much yet to learn. The city is wondrous.
楽しむのはいいが、その調子では何かに気を取られた隙に迷子になりそうだな。
Oh, I'll be fine. I'm sure I can make my way through the streets alone. Saint Germain did teach me the geography.
だが、私とはぐれてしまっては意味がないだろう。二人で過ごせるせっかくの休日なんだ。しっかりとエスコートさせてほしい。
Ah. It struck me then, feeling the warmth of our fingers intertwine. This was no cordial shaking of hands, far from it. It was intimate, loving. Half curious, half self-conscious, I take a look at the people around us. Very few couples are holding hands. Some passerby even shoot us a look of confusion, strolling hand in hand as we are. There aren't many other people holding hands.
気になるか？だが、私はこうしていたい。
He's got this mischievous look. He's like, I don't care.
それに、手を離していては、お前が狙われてしまうからな。
What? Twilight is long gone and the army isn't after us anymore. Chuckling at my reaction, Van Helsing walks faster, leading me somewhere. Somehow, even the clack of our footsteps on the cobblestone makes me happy. Be targeted by him.
この辺りに一度連れてこようと思っていた。
Actually, she'll probably be targeted by other men thinking they're not together. Van Helsing slows his pace. Looking about, it seems to be a shopping district. Tailors, general retailers, products of all kinds are fancifully displayed in store windows all around us. Clothes, jewelry, tableware, so much. Objects d'art and floral designs, household decor fashioned after animals, items adorned with mythical creatures. With so very much to look at, I feel as though I could window shop all day. Even simple tableware, though of course I recognize its purpose, seems completely different when decorated so gaily. I think that's how you say it. How amazing it all is.
興味を持ってくれて何よりだ。今日はこういったものをプレゼントしたくてな。
A gift? Why?
今までは防毒のものしか使えなかっただろう。今やそれも必要がない。なら日常生活の品も少しずつ変えていってはどうかと思ってな。
I see, I whispered to myself. Victor has specifically modified my bed, and likewise, all our tableware was coated in a substance that nullified the toxin. Everything I used, down to the smallest object, had to be poison-proofed. Even the clothes I'm wearing now were prepared by Victor, permeated with antitoxin. If we had failed to take such strict precautions, life at the mansion would not have been possible. But now, I can touch whatever I wish, nothing will melt, nothing will decay. I can use these?
本当に今気づいたという顔だな。
Slowly I nod. If Van Helsing hadn't just put that fact so plainly, I might not have realized for some time.
これからは好みのものを揃えて使うことができる。どんなものがいい？
My fancy? I never had considered such things before. What do I like? The luxury of choice was wholly new to me. I never wanted for much at the mansion, especially considering I had friends who could fetch anything that might be missing. I'm not entirely sure what I might, fancy Van Helsing. I apologize. I pondered it for a moment, but simply could not find the answer. Feeling defeated, I cast my eyes downward.
謝る必要はない。好みだどうだと気にしていられる状況でもなかったからな。
Well, maybe, but you were kind enough to bring me all the way here, and I just wish I had an answer.
Cardia.
Van Helsing pecks me on the cheek, making only the slightest of contact. Yet I flush bright red. What? It was so unexpected, especially for him. Somewhat taken aback, I feel my knees buckle. But he does not let me stumble, holding me tight across the waist.
すまない。悲しませたくない一心だったのだが、どうにも恋愛事は経験不足でな。
He's slightly blushing, that's cute. I was just surprised, is all. In front of all these people, I'm not sure how to put this except to say I'm a little embarrassed, I think. No, I don't think, I know. I'm too embarrassed to even look at him in the eye. But...
不快だったか?
No. There was something in his voice. I had never heard it before. Was it insecurity? Oh. I shook my head no. It's not that. Like I said, I was just startled, that's all.
そうか。
Oh, he's feeling insecure about his romantic capabilities. And Helsing's usual calm manner begins to return and I nod at this. Nod. After steadying my footing once again, we continue window shopping along the high street. Nothing has changed in the last few minutes, so of course I still don't really know what I like. I see clothes that are cute, well made, and the moment I think of them that way, the notion of spending money on them seems foolish. I didn't think finding something I fancy would be quite so hard.
今までに何かなかったか? 気に入ったデザインや色、物でもいい。
A design. I tried to remember all the clothes we'd seen at the boutiques we had passed. Oh.
何かあったか?
A trunk. Do you remember the one Lupin gave me when we first brought me to the mansion? I loved it.
トランク? あ、お前がいつも使っているあれか。
He's talking about clothes. Yes.
となれば、あの店はどうだ?
He gestured towards a particular boutique. As we get closer, I can see that its display is devoted to small leather goods and bags. The items have lovely intricate details like elaborately stitched lace accents. She must really like it. Out of all the many wares arranged in the window display, one catches my eye immediately. It's the cutest purse I've ever seen. Quite enchanted with it, I take a look at the price tag and am shocked.
気に入ったものがあったか?
She's like, nope. No, it's alright. I shake my head no, but hesitate just for a moment before I do. But that's not gonna go unnoticed. Van Helsing's like an elite guard. Van Helsing, of course, takes notice.
嘘をつくなら、もっとうまくつくべきだな。あそこにかかっているものだろう。
He points directly at the purse I'd been oogling in the window. What the heck? How did you?
視線がそこを向いていた。普段からお前をよく見ていれば、なおのことわかりやすい。
He looks pleased with himself. But it's so expensive.
あのくらいは普通だ。今日のような外出用に一つ持っていても困るまい。この際だ、他のものも見てみないか。揃えられるなら、ある程度揃えてしまえばいい。
Are you sure?
もちろんだ。そのために連れ出した。それに、お前のお気に入りがルパンからもらったものだけというのは少々焼けるからな。
Your man needs to get you a present. Then Helsing once again takes my hand. With little choice in the matter, I am pulled inside the shop. Still, I wonder, is this truly alright? The feel of Van Helsing's warm grip gives me the answer I need. Blessed with such kindness, how could I possibly refuse? My heart now full of anticipation rather than trepidation, I step inside the luxurious interior.
ありがとうございました。
I stepped into the boutique holding Van Helsing's hand and stepped out holding a beautiful new purse. I marvel at things I hadn't noticed when it was behind glass, running my fingers along the detailed filigree, feeling its suppleness. Thank you, Van Helsing. I'll treasure it. And all the rest of these lovely things, are you absolutely sure you can afford all of this? Our shopping spree comprised much more than the purse. We bought tableware, new bedclothes, all manner of household items. The bounty is so vast there was no carrying it ourselves. The only item we take with us is the purse. And Helsing arranged for everything else to be shipped to the mansion.
今までが持たなすぎたんだ。あれでもまだまだ少ない。年頃のレディーならクローゼットに力ずくで押し込めてもまだまだ足りないと騒ぐくらいだ。
Yeah, but I doubt you guys are hardly rich enough to afford a packed wardrobe. A full armoire. The closets and armories in St. Germain's mansions are rather large. I have clothes, hats, and hairpins in mine, but the empty space is still expansive. But St. Germain is a noble. I never remembered feeling put out because of something I didn't own. Perhaps I don't have a strong attachment to physical objects. I have no idea what I do with that many clothes. You can only wear so many at once.
一度に全部ではない。その日の天候や気分に合わせて日ごとに使うものを決めるんだ。
I don't pick my clothes based on the weather, but that's just me. For what though?
私も女心は詳しくないが、自分を美しく見せるためだろう。
Becoming a lady seems far more complex than I had imagined.
何を言う。お前も立派なレディーだ。ただ、着飾る必要もないくらい美しいというのが他とは決定的に違うがな。
I'm flattered.
さて、他にも見たい店はあるか？どこでも遠慮せずに言ってくれ。
Well, I'd like to see that one across the way.
金物よ。
Smithy. I was thinking we could do with a new pot.
お前らしい。
As the afternoon wears on, Van Helsing and I stroll here and there about the city. Time seems to pass so much faster here than when I'm simply waiting in the mansion. Van Helsing made conversation, explaining this and that, the perfect gentleman escort. He even had the grace to take me into every feminine boutique, looking rather out of place as the only male customer. Realizing it wasn't a coincidence, he had researched the shop thinking I might like it, brings an instant smile to my face. And yet, he had been so busy until recently. How did he find the time to plan this outing with such meticulousness? Had he been through a great deal of trouble just for my sake? Unable to shake the thought, I look up at him striding beside me. I already know what would happen if I asked. I'd get a grin and a no trouble at all. And Helsing leads the way, and at length we arrive at a bistro, or so the business signboard reads. This is... I'm positive I've seen the word before. The establishment itself seems to be in a basement level, so I can't see inside. What is this place? What do they sell?
レストランといってな、食事を提供してくれる場所だ。
I thought he takes her to a specific clothing store, but I guess that's later on. A restaurant. Oh, I know this. I read about these before.
もちろん、お前の作る料理に不満などない。ただ、こうしていつもと違った環境で食事をすることもいい経験かと思ってな。
Yeah, eating out has its own fun.
カルディア、今のお前にはそれができるのだから。
I suppose so. All these normal things I can do now. All the tableware and the cookery at the mansion had been poison-proof, so there was never any issue, but outside, I had never been taken to a place like this by anyone. Is this somewhere you come often?
いや、実を言うと、私もこの店は初めてだ。いろいろと評判を聞いて回ったところ、この店が良さそうだったのでな。
You went to so much trouble, thank you.
礼は、食事がうまかったらにしてくれ。
We descend the fairly dark staircase.
足元に気をつけてな。
Right. Mere seconds later, the wooden door appears. After making certain I was right behind him, Van Helsing slowly opens the door. A dim orange glow suffuses the space. The ambience is calming, inviting, a space the exterior did not begin to suggest. While not quite boisterous, the bistro is full of many other couples seated together and talking to one another.
いらっしゃいませ。
あ、予約したものだが。
Soon we are seated. I feel somewhat uneasy, though I couldn't say why. Maybe it showed on my face. Van Helsing looks at me and begins to chuckle.
表情が硬いな。
I've never been in a place like this. I'm not sure what to do. And besides,
それに
it was something that sprang quite unbidden to my mind. I shook my head as though it were nothing.
ま、何も緊張するようなことはない。料理を楽しめばそれでいいんだ。
Choose what I want from this list, he says. I open the elegantly folded menu. The names of dishes are convoluted, frankly beyond my ken. What? It's extremely difficult to imagine what I might receive if I ordered tail event, queenless boden in the caviar sauce. Usually they have a description what it is too. She's still like...
いきなりは難しいか。そうだな。決めきれないようであればコースにしてみるか。
course?
決められた順序と組み合わせの料理といったところだ。屋敷でもスープやサラダをメイン料理と一緒に並べるだろう。あれの品数が少し増えたと思えばいい。
Easy enough to understand. I feel like I have some idea what to expect now. Then let's try that.
お待たせいたしました。
After we place our order, dishes begin to show up at the table one after another. My goodness. 2 appetizers, soup and the main dish, a hearty roast beef, fresh baked bread. I'm told the meal even includes a dessert. Every dish is so exquisite I can do little but sigh in awe. Compared to what I cook, this is an entirely different world.
落胆するような部分でないと思うがな。
He's like, I like your cooking. Poised with knife and fork in hand, I suddenly freeze. I'm worried about proper table manners.
普段通りで構わないさ。そうかしこまった場所でもない。
I see, well, here goes nothing. Without further ado, I lift a morsel to my lips. The crisp snap of fresh vegetables, slightly pungent dressing, a perfect counterpoint. The mellow warmth of perfectly prepared gravy mingling with the hearty roast. And he's just staring at you.
どうやら口に合ったようだな。
Yes, it's so good. It's a cute little image of him. The flavors, the textures, the presentation, all so far beyond what I'm capable of.
そうか。その笑顔が見られてよかった。
Thank you. Thank you so much for today. Not only this wonderful restaurant, but all the lovely stores. Van Helsing gives a simple nod. I want to be able to make something like this. I just might be able to best Impy's cooking for once. I'm starting tomorrow. I'm going to learn how to cook better.
それは嬉しい限りだが、こうした外出の口実が減るのは困るな。
As we enjoy our meal, patrons of the bistro leave, new ones arrive to take their tables. Perhaps because of the romantic atmosphere, most of the clientele are indeed couples. As rude as my roving eyes might be, I can't help but gape at the female customers as they sashay down the restaurant staircase.
どうした？
They're all fancy. The niggling thought that struck me as we were being seated. There was hardly any need to voice it to Van Helsing, but he did ask. I can think of no reason to hide my feelings. The women here are dressed so elegantly, I felt completely out of place. Having said this, I find myself paying even closer attention to the people around us. Thank goodness nobody seems to be looking at us in disdain, but the difference in attire is undeniable.
なんだ、そんなことか。
I think it was in another route where she admitted that she feels like she's dressed as a man. Doesn't have any women clothes. Well, yes, that's it. I am woefully underdressed, and I don't want that to reflect on you.
いいんだ。気にしなくていい。お前が恥をかくようなことはないし、そもそも私が欠かせないさ。
But
謙虚さは尊いものだが、お前はもう少し自分の魅力を自覚するべきだな。
and Helsing chuckles at this, then turns to a man behind a counter, summoning him.
いかがされましたか？
ああ、仕事中にすまないな。率直に言ってくれて構わない。彼女のことをどう思う？
Seriously? What? Stunned into utter speechlessness, I can't help but sit in shock as the bartender praises me.
お客様に盛大に嫉妬してしまいますね。本当に驚くほどお美しい。
Oh, that was definitely an honest opinion, I guess.
だろうな。私も毎朝彼女を見ては驚いている。
美男美女という言葉を初めて理解しましたよ。お嬢さん、当店に決まった服装などございません。どうぞこれからもごひいきに。
Was he listening in? After his brief and bizarre conversation, the man disappears back into the restaurant.
ということらしいぞ。
His smile is a bit on the wicked side. Oddly enough, that pleases me. And soon enough, I'm beaming at him. It pleases her. The meal draws to a close and we sit nursing cups of tea. Glancing around, it was clear the restaurant had begun to empty out. A few guests remained. And then, rather abruptly, Van Helsing asks a question I was not expecting.
カルディア、最近の私をどう思う？以前と比べて。
You lately? Compared to his old self? He met himself during the Azoth incident. That enough was obvious to me. Why did my words falter? I doubt anyone could have predicted how much he would change. There is simply no comparison to the man he once was. When we first met, his eyes were steely and sharp, warning all who met his gaze to stay at a distance. He smiled rarely, laughing infrequently, and actively sought to isolate himself. I think you've changed a lot. You're a completely different person from when we met. You've softened around the edges.
そうか、変わったか。柔らかいか。
Oh, he sounds happy. He grinned, breathing a sigh of genuine relief. What had not changed about him was something that had been there since the start, a deep inner kindness. The only difference now was that it risen to the surface, or so it seemed to me. However, in fact, you've changed so much, it can feel a bit strange at times. Strange. Perhaps not the most fitting word, and one I regretted having said, but it was out. There was no longer any point in searching for a more appropriate term. Oh. Van Helsing? After saying his name before our eyes met, there was a pause, brief but noticeable. Even before he had fully registered as potentially awkward, however, Van Helsing waved it away with a smile. His ever so brief moment of unsure emotion was erased as soon as it had appeared.
すまない。少し酔いが回ったようだ。
Oh, are you getting tipsy? I think it's just an excuse, though. It is. You don't feel sick, or...
大丈夫だ。私は大丈夫だよ。
A full week had passed since our rare holiday out together. I woke at my customary time and stood up to stretch. That day, after eating, we ventured out again, looking at even more shops. Van Helsing seemed to be in his usual spirits, as he had been, day after day. He cares for me deeply, as kind as ever. Perhaps that queer feeling at the restaurant had been nothing more than my imagination. Grinding gears over the matter solves nothing. I just don't have an answer. Even so, it's not as if I can't expect a proper answer, even if I do ask directly. Doing my absolute best to convince myself this was so, I headed towards the dining room. Making preparations for breakfast, as I do every morning, I noticed a letter atop the table. I opened the envelope to see Van Helsing's rigid handwriting. I must head out early and regrettably skip breakfast. I will be back after noon. Shall we head into the city again? Matter of fact, carefully folded, the essence of Van Helsing's missives. He wanted to meet in the cafeteria that had only recently had its grand opening. I have no reason to refuse his invitation. Suddenly, noon seems terribly far away. I know when you're looking forward to something, it just takes forever. Finally, the appointed time arrives. I had arrived at the place Van Helsing had chosen early. The sun shining brightly overhead, I hear the hum of clientele all around me, the comfortable, open plan well suited to this. I indulge in people watching as I wait patiently for Van Helsing to arrive. I wonder where we'll go today. London is massive. Obviously, there is countless possibilities for places to spend the afternoon together.
Cardia、最近の私をどう思う？以前と比べて。
You lately? Van Helsing?
すまない。少し酔いが回ったようだ。
You're making him self-conscious of being strange.
大丈夫だ。私は大丈夫だよ。
For no particular reason, I reflect on our conversation last week. The strange little notion I had, it was...
Cardia、遅くなってすまない。
Van Helsing, it's quite alright. I haven't been here long. My train of thought was cut short by his arrival.
そうか。それならいいのだが。では、せっかくだ。ここで少しお茶を飲んでから移動するとしよう。人づてに面白い場所があると聞いた。お前が楽しめるといいのだが。
His kind expression, his kind words, nothing whatsoever to complain about. Yet as I hear these words, I cannot help but feel a creeping unease. Of course, thank you, I'll enjoy it. Just talk about it. That was St. Germain's problem. After departing the cafeteria, we visit all manner of places new to me. From a shop dealing exclusively in spices to a district occupied by street performers. We never walk specifically far, but the time we spend together is precious no matter where it may be. As dusk began to paint the streets in shades of russet and orange, our shadows stretched out for yards, at times mingling, at others pulling apart. It was almost as if they were dancing.
どうした？
Oh, it's nothing. This happiness, this joy I feel, the warmth radiating from my heart, all of these I want to share with him. For whatever reason, that desire was occupying my thoughts.
しまった。
Oh? Just as we were about to turn a corner, Van Helsing stops in his tracks. What is it, Van Helsing?
すまない。一つ個人的な用を忘れていた。ここからそう遠くない場所なのだが。
Then we should stop by. I'm happy to wait.
そうか。
Turning back in the direction we came from, Van Helsing soon slips into a small side street and I lose sight of him. He went down the back alley. I decided to stay put, waiting by the entrance to the tiny side street. I have no direct line of sight towards what lies at the far end, but I have an idea. I can just barely smell it, a commingling of odors I recognize plainly. Sulfate and gunpowder. Oh. Down this back alley are guns, ammunition, and undoubtedly a merchant who deals in such things. Van Helsing forgetting to keep his weapons maintained? I can't imagine. No, he's probably like stopping a dealer or something. It seems an impossibility. Even I have trouble considering it. I hadn't been around for any guns or blades, tools that exist only to harm other people, for some time. When Lupin and MP visited not too long ago, the old Van Helsing would have upholstered his shotgun and leveled it at them, no doubt. But he didn't, which must mean... I gently placed my hand on my chest. Although I will never feel the steady thrum of a heartbeat, I sense the horologium.
幸福などいらない。許しなど得てはならない。私が奪ったもののためにも、私が失わせたもののためにも、私は血に染まった道を歩まねばならないんだ。
I remember it with biting clarity. Tears streamed down his cheeks as he thrust the barrel of his shotgun into my chest. A profound cry from so deep inside the soul, it caused the very darkness of night to shudder. After that night, Van Helsing never again unsheathed his weapon in my presence. I imagine it's a conscious avoidance so as to forget the past that took such a dreadful toll on his heart. Oh, that's really sad. He wouldn't even touch his gun. At least in front of her. Yeah, that would probably traumatize me if I was forced to do something like that to someone. I would be very self-conscious of that thing afterwards. When it comes to his weapons, he goes to great lengths that I be unaware of them. Even though I'm perfectly fine, as I mumble these words under my breath, tones ring out from afar, a church bell by the sound. Ah. Oddly, what the sound signified came to me immediately. It's a wedding. A bell intoning future blessings for the newlyweds. A future I could not comprehend, but a future that may yet be possible. I found myself walking in the direction of the sound, pulled along by my brief instant understanding of what the bells meant. He's just gonna leave. He said you're gonna wait for him. The church wasn't far. Even at this distance, the voices of guests and the ringing of bells reaches me clearly. Incredible. Voices delivering blessings, the crowds clapping. All around me, sounds of happiness. You're going to give Van Helsing a heart attack. So very close, close enough to touch. Why then did it all feel so far away? Just outside the church, appearing the new bride, smiling radiantly as she accepted the well wishes from her guests. She glowed with such joy and delight that I found myself wishing for her eternal happiness, someone I had never even met. Couples get married. For a reason I couldn't quite pinpoint, I found it extremely difficult to imagine such a happy future. Wonder why. Why do I feel this way? I'm happy. I love Van Helsing. No matter how deeply I thought, no answer was forthcoming. I should be going back. I don't want to worry Van Helsing, who would be deeply concerned to find that I had left. I turned my back on the gay scene.
Cardia.
He came running after you. I only make it a few steps. Van Helsing. I look up to find Van Helsing panting and out of breath, an unsettling sight.
心配したぞ。
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to walk off without telling you. I knew he wanted to ask what I was doing here, but he struggled with the words. Instead, he leveled his adroit gaze at the church and figured it out for himself.
花嫁か。
A brief silence enveloped us. She wants to get married. Van Helsing closed his eyes in thought, and I could but guess at what might be running through his head.
私たちにもいずれ 必要になるのかもしれないな。
You're right. One day, he said, not soon. Somehow that answer feels right for now.
確か大通りにもああいったものを扱う店があったはずだ。寄ってみるか？
Are you sure?
お前が望むのなら喜んで。
In the waning sunlight, I gripped his hand in mine. His hands always have been chilly, yet somehow they feel tougher and sturdier than ever. Yeah, this is the shop I was thinking of. Inside the boutique, luxurious dresses occupy every available space. From great flouncy pieces adorned in layers of lace that rolled like ocean waves to humble designs, albeit of the finest cloth. This plethora of finery reminded me strongly of the many genteel ladies depicted in our mansion's portraits as overwhelming. I may not have attended any social fêtes, I don't know how to say that, but if I ever get the chance, I imagine it would be something like this. I wonder if all the cloth makes walking difficult. How very me acknowledging the beauty while speaking about my worries honestly.
普段動きやすい服を着ているから余計にそう見えるのだろうな。これを機に何着か持っておけばいい。きっと似合う。
いらっしゃいませ。どういったものをお探しですか？
I suppose I'd like to see a dress.
ああ、もしかしてご婚礼用ですか？
She automatically assumes wedding dress. Oh, well.
将来そうしたいというところだ。それと普段使いできるものも探しているのだが。
承知いたしました。ではこちらへ。
My gaze is drawn to the myriad dresses on display as we walk throughout the space. Every one of them is beautiful. All I own, not counting the one I wore in Father's mansion in Wales, is the dress I'm wearing now. She's not wearing a dress now. I think back to the lofty roof of Buckingham Palace where Van Helsing had brought me a dress in finery. For those few fleeting moments on the roof was as a fairy tale ballroom, and I danced, if a bit unsteadily, in a lovely sky blue dress.
どうか今宵一晩この幻想の会場で私と踊ってくれないか、愛しい人よ。
I study Van Helsing closely as he walks a few paces ahead of me. Something that would match his style.
カルディア、
Yes.
着るのは私ではないぞ。
I know. It's just that I can't possibly imagine.
心配するな。お前は世界一美しい。自信を持って着てみればいいさ。
If you say so, Van Helsing.
こちらなどいかがですか？
Oh my.
ご婚礼用のものになります。いずれはということでしたが、イメージだけでも掴んでみてはと。
おお、よく似合いそうだ。
Suit me. The words that seal the deal. Alright, I think I'll try it on then. Trying it on turned out to be more than I had imagined. I needed a corset, adornments in my hair, almost as if I were actually preparing to be wed.
旦那様、できましたよ。
Mrs. Isn't it a bit too early for that? And yet, I consider it. I imagine the future possibility and I can't help but beam.
さあさあ、お足元に気をつけて。奥様、こちらへ。
With that, the seamstress takes my hand and leads me right toward... He's gonna be stunned, shocked. See? Van Helsing had been waiting in the shop proper.
よくお似合いでしょう。他のものもいくつか探してきますね。
In a wink, she has gone, disappeared into the back almost before the words left her mouth. The unfamiliar garb alone makes me feel shy, but Helsing gaping at me hardly helps. What shall I do if he finds me odd? He's not gonna find you odd. He's like, he can't even find words at all. I unconsciously lower my head, unable to bear the thought, but
思っていた以上だ。
oh, it's so adorable. He says this in a barely audible whisper and pulls me to him. He plants a soft, tender kiss on my chest, the low-cut dress affording it easily. In a heartbeat, I feel my cheeks grow hot. What does the seamstress think about her weird gem embedded into her chest? I mean, she probably didn't ask, but I would be curious. I'm like, that doesn't look like a tattoo.
顔が赤いな。
Yes, we know our face is red. Meaning what? It just happens. In fact, not blushing would be downright impossible.
本当に綺麗だよ。カルディア。
You were just so beautiful, I couldn't keep his hands off you. I love to hear that. Thank you.
しかし、式を挙げるとしたら、この姿を他の連中にも見せることになるのか。これは考えものだな。
Well, I look alright standing beside you.
むしろ、私の方が隣に立てるか心配だ。
Held so close, I feel his breath, his heartbeat. Each exhale and pulse brings me closer to the realization I have fundamentally changed, that I am a new person. Such joy. And yet,
お前が喜んでくれてよかった。
the way he says that just doesn't feel right. Why? What is wrong, Cardia? Tell us. His smile is so genuine. His voice fairly overflows with kindness, but somehow he feels distant, as do his words. What is this bizarre, unbidden feeling? It's probably because he's trying to keep a secret from you and he's doing a bad job of it. After the magnificent wedding dress, I did try on many others, but we left the shop that day without buying anything.
帰ろう、カルディア。
She looks sad. Alright. This queer, unshakable feeling in my heart. This deep sense of disquiet, almost as if a fist were clenched around my non-existent heart. Our trip home, which by rights should have been enjoyable, was instead uneasy.
I
look up at him. Then Helsing smiling as always, and yet a shadow seems cast across his face, and it isn't the waning sunlight. Somehow he looks pained. Yes, of course I did. You brought me hither and yon, let me try on so very many beautiful dresses, treating me to a wonderful meal hither and yon. These words, man.
それならばよかった。お前が幸せなら、私はそれでいい。
An almost imperceptible change in his smile. Now it was beautiful, beatific, but almost too much so. It was a smile at once content, soft and kind, yet something lay hidden beneath. I'm beginning to see it now. This smile of his, only I am privy to it. Lupin, MP, Victor, Saint Germain, none of them have seen its like. I'm probably the only person who ever has.
どうした?
How do I put this? This has been so much fun. I love that Van Helsing took me out today. There's not a shred of untruth to that statement, but what about you, Van Helsing? His eyes opened wide at this unexpected question. I had put a great deal of thought into this on the trip home.
それはお前にとっていいことだろう？それとも何か至らない部分が？カルディア、最近の私をどう思う？以前と比べて。お前が喜んでくれてよかった。
Yes, it was fun, but my chest aches all the same. What about you? Did you have fun?
私は
The tiniest of hesitations. He replied as though it hadn't happened, but I had absolutely taken notice of it. Once again, Van Helsing flashed his winning smile.
そんなこと決まっているだろう。楽しかったというほかない。急にどうしたんだ？何か気に入らないことがあったか？私が気づいてないなら指摘していい。
Van Helsing extends his hand gently. Radiating kindness, he moved to stroke my cheek as he so often does. But I...
Cardia.
Aww. I don't know why, yet I pull away. His hand remains frozen, hanging in mid-air. Needless to say, it did not find purchase. Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry. I'm not unhappy. It's just what? My body seemed to pull away on its own. I'm deeply confused, conflicted, and I still have not the faintest idea of how to explain myself. The silence falls on us both. Even though you're right here beside me, sometimes you seem so far away, and that makes me so lonely. The words that poured out of me came as a shock. After all, here was a man who always put me first, my happiness his top priority. That said, the more and more I realize, I can never tell what you're feeling, and that worries me.
そうだったのか。
Having said my piece, it comes to me now that he may dislike me. The intense desire to apologize immediately comes welling up, but before I can... Oh, got 3 CGs in this one. He held me tight, so tight, not enough to cause any pain, but this one was an embrace from which I would not be escaping.
すまなかった。お前を悲しませるつもりなどつゆほどもなかったというのに。私はただお前を誰よりも幸せにしたくて。お前にとっての理想でいたくて。
As the words came rushing out, he grips me even tighter.
お前は何も悪くないんだ。ただ私がもっとお前にとってより良い存在でなければいけないのに。
I know it seems like he's trying to cover up every mean thing and harsh word he's ever said to her by overwhelmingly kindness, that it feels fake to her. Or it doesn't feel fake, but the act of it is not comforting. She just wants him to be himself instead of trying to erase everything that he's done. Just move on from here. Church bells ring out from far, far away. The peals were different from the wedding bells I heard earlier. Perhaps they were a call to worship. We're telling you that it's like 10 p.m. As if it was a sign, Van Helsing releases me from his embrace with nary a word. The hand he had held extended towards me was now back at his side. On his face, the most inscrutable smile, kind on the surface yet somehow cutting. He neither took my hand nor bade me come with him. His eyes did all the talking. Eventually, we fell into step, walking side by side at a leisurely pace. We walked all the way back to the mansion in relative silence, hardly a word between us. In fact, all Van Helsing really did to acknowledge my presence was to make sure I had not fallen too far behind. With the main entrance halfway open, Van Helsing suddenly stopped dead in his tracks. What is it? There's an intruder. Van.
少し出かけてくる。用事を思い出した。
Yep, something's bothering him. His voice was listless. For all of his other abilities, Van Helsing is not a good liar. If he claims to have remembered an engagement, it must be work. Alright, I understand. Even if he had forgotten a work engagement, I don't know what the right things are to say right now. I haven't a clue. For it was I, and none other, who robbed him of his good cheer this afternoon. Have a safe trip. That's it. That was the single pathetic thing I could manage.
ああ、行ってくる。
I watched my beloved stride away, melting into the darkness of early evening. A gust of wind swirls in as I shut the mansion door behind me. It is preternaturally cold. Like, what the? These words. Oh my goodness. I don't like your extended vocabulary. We're inside the palace. Even though we can see the words of the next section, I think I'm going to stop the episode here because it's an hour and 15 minutes of recording, and I think there's probably only like 40 minutes left, kind of like Saint Germain. Saint Germain had like two 40-minute ones and 1 hour or something like that. So it's not going to be much longer to the end, and this video is already late. Like, I wanted to release it 30 minutes ago, but now I have to go edit it. So we're going to stop here. That'll give me, that'll make editing quick, and then I can get it out, and then I'll just release the third episode like Saint Germain. I think that him trying to put her first all the time is kind of getting to her, and he doesn't he doesn't know how else to respond because this is new to him too. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the end because I already know what's going to happen. That is like the one thing I do remember of Van Helsing. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, drop a like down below and or subscribe. And the next video after this is going to be another Cupid Parasite, and I think I'm just going to be alternating back and forth like that. It seems like a good way to mix in the two games. But I need to do some recording tomorrow because I don't have any more Cupid Parasite recorded. And it's the date with Ryuki, which I'm looking forward to. But yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.